Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Bootcamp Blueprint, the place where personal trainers go to grow their bootcamp and social media. My name is Jono and I'm your host for today. I'm super excited because we have a very important guest on the other line. Before I introduce my guest, I just want to talk a little bit about FITEX. So FITEX is coming up in November. If you're not sure what FITEX is, it's basically the biggest fitness convention in New Zealand. It's the New Zealand version of FITEX if you're in Australia, or an IDEA or an URSA if you're in the US. And I've actually been lucky enough to be selected as a presenter this year. I'm going to cover a lecture on Facebook and a lecture on Bootcamp. So I want to help promote this event because it is an amazing event. I've been the last couple of years, even though I haven't been presenting. So what I'm doing for this month is I'm interviewing the biggest names in the New Zealand fitness industry to get everyone excited about the event. So if you're sitting on the line, you're sitting on the fence, I want to interview these really cool people from New Zealand, top of the industry, to motivate you to come along. So if you're listening to this and you're in New Zealand, you've literally got no excuse, just come. Even if you're in Australia, you've still really got no excuse. Like me here in Sydney, it's a 3-hour flight to Auckland. And to be honest, I've been stuck in Sydney traffic longer than that. So if you're serious about going to the next level, I strongly recommend coming along to FITEX. But anyways, talking about the biggest names in the fitness industry in New Zealand, it doesn't get much bigger than this person I've got on the line here, because I actually have the 2017 New Zealand Personal Trainer of the Year, which is a huge achievement. She's the founder and the head trainer at FITEX over there, of FitFix over there in New Zealand, and they do it all there. I had a look on the website, and they do adrenal fatigue testing, they do Dream It, they do Fit Chicks, they do Fit Hit, they do Fit-A-Min, Fit Mums, food sensitivity, movement therapy, pelvic floor, personal training, PT mentoring, running programs, health coaching, yoga. I'm running out of breath listing all these things, so I better introduce her. I've got my fellow FITEX presenter, who is also going to be presenting at FITEX this year, a topic fitness games, which I will definitely attend. We've got the one and only Corrine Austin. Corrine, how are you?
I'm very well, Jono. Thank you. How are you?
I am amazing. I also found out an interesting fact about you there, Corrine. I heard you're going to master the backwards flick flack. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm a little bit crazy like that. I tend to have little adventures or little challenges that I give myself. I did the Rarotonga Triathlon about 4 years ago with my husband and a couple of good friends. We just out of nowhere decided to sign up to a Olympic-sized triathlon in Rarotonga. We completed that. I've also done a 3.8k ocean swim. That was about 5 years ago. And I don't know, I've never been into gymnastics, but there was something about trying to master a backwards flick-flack, otherwise known as a backwards handspring, that just tickled my fancy. So I've been doing the work in the gym and attending one-on-one coaching with a gymnastics coach as well. And I'm most of the way there, I think, but it's going to be a cool little party trick once I can master it.
Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on your social media there, and I want to see the perfect one, but I want to see the fails as well. So
yeah,
love
plenty of those.
Well, I want to talk about something to do there a little bit later as well. But just before we do, Corrine, I like to start all my interviews off with a quote or a mantra that inspires you or fires you up. Have you got one for us?
I've probably actually got about 3 that I use, Jono. So the one that I've probably had the longest is, if it doesn't make you happy, don't do it. So that sort of, relates to personal and professional. Nicely on a couple of quite big decisions as well as little decisions, but if it's not going to make me or my business happy, then the answer is generally no. So that's one of them. Another one is
simple but effective, isn't it?
Totally.
So simple, but a lot of us just don't live by that. And if you can just simplify that, you're like, hey, this isn't making me happy. Why am I doing it? So yeah. I love that. Let's move on to your next one.
The next one is, and this was brought up by one of my mentors actually, she said it in a conversation. So she didn't actually say it as a quote, but I picked up on it and I just loved the power that it had. So what's possible if you let it be possible? So it's basically just about breaking down the beliefs or the words or the things that we tell ourselves, that possibly inhibit our growth or don't let us approach where we sort of deserve to be, or yeah, so what is possible if we actually dismantle those beliefs that are stalling our growth or expansion or whatever, and seeing what.
Love that one too. So I've got a favorite quote that I like for that. Whether you think you're right or whether you think you're wrong, either way, you're right. Like
exactly.
if there's something that you think, if there's something out there and you think you can do it, you'll find a way, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
If you tell
totally.
yourself you can't do it, hey, you're right as well. You're not going to be able to do it because you're going to come up with little things that are going to stop you from doing it. So you're 2 from 2. I'm loving them so far, Corrine. I can't wait for this next one.
And the last one actually comes from a song. It's called The Fight Song. It's by Rachel Platten, and I actually used it in a seminar, a talk I did a couple of years ago. But it's, you might only have one match, but you can make an explosion. So it's basically saying that we've got one life, we've got one power within us, but we can make a really big impact if we choose to use that power within us the right way. So that's sort of is the thing that fires me up, if I'm feeling a bit nervous or a bit apprehensive or a bit reluctant about something, but I'm really passionate about it. That is what sort of fuels that fire to make me actually go out and do it.
Love it. Love those 3, Corrine. Now, from here, I've got maybe an interesting question. Now, I know you're a personal trainer, but looking at your website, I feel like you're so much more than that. Just reading off those things by thing. If you meet someone out at a barbecue or you meet someone for the first time and they say, hey, Corrine, what do? Do you say personal trainer or do you have what do you say?
Yeah, it's a hard one actually. And I've spoken to my mentors about this quite recently. It's a hard one to define now. Like I do say personal trainer still, but like my mentors almost sort of growl me for saying that, because I do so much more, and what I practice day in and day out is now so much more than your traditional personal trainer. And that's not taking away from what personal trainers do by any means, but it's just, I'm just something else now. But I basically just help people have better health inside and out, but I do it via sort of like a whole body integration type of a thing. I try to get a full body understanding of what's going on mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever. And yeah, I sort of have a real natural intuitive guidance inside me that sort of generally leads me in the right place, whether it be, tapping into that mental, emotional side or that physical side. But yeah, some of my clients say I work miracles sometimes, and yeah, there was an instance yesterday afternoon, in fact, where a lady, an elderly client, actually, she should be mid-70s, she had a fall in the dark while she was out. It was about 4 weeks ago, and she hadn't been to see anybody, but she'd texted me over the last couple of weeks to say, I can't make my sessions, I'm too sore, and I had encouraged her to see somebody, but she, people of that age, sort of, they're a little bit reluctant to go and see somebody. It's just sort of not in their belief systems. But she came along yesterday saying, she wasn't sure what she was going to be able to do. And, I just sort of listened and asked her where the pain was and asked her how she felt and just, dug all those questions that made me understand the situation entirely. And I mean, she came in barely able to, especially her upper body, she was barely able to move. She wasn't able to rotate. She wasn't able to put her arms sort of above, certainly not to shoulder height. But by the end, she could do full body rotation both ways. She could get her hands right up above her head. And it was just she just gave me so many hugs. She just looked at me with that, that glint in her eye that says, you've just worked a miracle. I don't know how you did that. I didn't know that I was even going to spend 20 minutes here today. I've just spent a whole hour. It's yeah. I don't know what I do either, but
but it's something good from the sounds of things.
Yeah.
Well, I want to, so a couple of things going on here, Corrine. There are a few specific parts of what you do that I'm just super curious about, and I'd love to delve a bit deeper. But I think that the way we can give my listeners the best value is just sharing your story. Like now you're the 2017 Personal Trainer of the Year. You're a FITEX presenter. What was the journey like? Did you just start this a couple of years ago and snapped your fingers and you're where you're at now? Or is it a long journey? Let's share with my listeners what you've experienced. And I'm sure they'll get some gold from listening to the journey. But if you or me pick up some little tips along the way, we can stop and talk about them too. How does that sound?
Yeah, great. Yep. Right. So you want me to start from the start?
Yeah, I'll let you decide. Yeah, but I think we start from the start.
All right. So I actually left school, Jono, to become an accountant. So I thought accountants were rich and successful people. So that's what I wanted to be as well. I actually attended just one day of the degree and thought there is no way that I'm doing that for another 4 years. So I took another 6 months off, and then I signed up to the Bachelor of Sport and Exercise Science at the Waikato Institute of Technology. And I did that for 3 years. I followed that up with a postgraduate diploma in psychology, just because I really liked the psychology line as well. At that point, I was living in Hamilton, in the Waikato, in New Zealand, which wasn't home for me, obviously. So then I moved back home to the north after that, and I signed up to became employed by a gym as originally just a fitness instructor. And then I became assistant manager, and then I decided to have a little dabble in personal training as well. So I really like the personal training side of things there, but I felt being in a gym environment, I couldn't be freely me. I couldn't put my own personality or flavour into my sessions, and I just couldn't grow in the ways that I wanted to. So my hubby said, just do it, just go out and do your own thing. So now this is going way back in, so I started out in my own business. I left the gym, started out in my own business in 2007. So in October this year, it's 11 years. I literally started in a single garage in a rented property while we built where I currently am on our premises here. I was just solely one-on-one personal training back then, because that's all the world of personal training sort of knew. It was still pretty much a luxury item back then. And then I've literally really just organically evolved from there. So I never had a big business plan. I never had ideas about where I wanted to go, but I've just evolved with my own passions, with my own interests, and where clients have taken me, basically. So when they've suggested something, I've sort of taken that on board. So I guess I brought in buddy up training as well as small group training. When I became a mum almost 9 years ago now, I realised that there was no service for mums with kids in their care. So then I started a group called Fit Mums, which is basically group fitness, and they can bring their kids along. It's sort of like a play group for the kids. So that's still going really strong. I do a group called Fit Chicks, which is early morning fitness. So it's 6 a.m. group fitness. So that's for bigger groups. So I take up to 12. About 3 years ago, I discovered Dave Leo and Angela Jenkins from the Kaizen Institute of Health.
Yes, Australians, right? Is that a...
Well, no, Dave's a Kiwi. Don't you dare call Dave an Aussie. I don't think he'd like that. But no, Ange is a Aussie. And so I'd seen Dave and Ange at FITEX for many years, but it was just this 1 year in particular, they were delivering a lot of content about, looking at the health from the inside. And I really liked it. And I signed up myself, actually, and one of the girls that works for me signed up to their mentorship for the next year. So it stemmed from there, and I'm still doing their advanced health coaching. So that's what looks at the adrenal fatigue, or as we know it today, the HbA axis dysfunction, food sensitivity testing. We look at blood chemistry and analyze blood chemistry from a functional sort of perspective, and just a whole lot of other things that are looking from the health from the inside. From Dave's angle, it's more of the musculoskeletal stuff. So it's hard to sort of define exactly what his side is, but it's almost sort of, again, whole body integration stuff. So you're sort of understanding what's the driver behind certain pain and dysfunction and trying to unravel the puzzle there. And then more recently, I've gone on to JP, or John Polly, like I know that you follow as well, and he's become quite a recent mentor as well, and just loving his stuff. And so between him and Dave, the musculoskeletal stuff is just coming along beautifully, and with Ange's functional sort of side, that's coming along really nicely too. So I now offer health coaching as part of one of my services. Quite recently, I did the mastery series of PH 360. So I currently consult with quite a few clients that do PH 360 now as well. What else do? I mentor up and coming PT. So all of the staff that currently work for me, all the trainers that currently work for me, and there's 5 of them, they've all been, 3 of them actually have actually been clients, all in completely different careers when they've been clients. And then there's been something about the way I do things that's made them say, I want to do what you're doing. So they've gone off and done their online study through a registered exercise professional, accredited course. And so I've mentored them through, and they are now training with me, or, contracted to me. So I mentor them. I mentor others from around the country as well. Well, what else do I do? I do a little bit.
But
Yeah, is that enough?
you keep going, because I'm trying to remember all the gold to summarize it. But you keep going, and then we'll do a summary at the end.
I just recently, actually, just on Friday I just did my first ever big paid workshop, which was a big scary thing for me. I've never been comfortable public speaking. It's always been a great fear of mine, and it's always been something that's held me back. But I just did my first 2-hour one on Friday to a organisation of 88 people, and it was awesome. I felt really, really good about it. So I'm stoked actually that I've made that step forward, because it was, like I say, it was something that was really holding me back. So I hope to be able to do more of that, inspiring bigger groups at a smaller chunk of time. So I do that. I'm doing a thing with the radio at the moment, the local radio station. So there's a half marathon coming up in my town, Whangarei, in September, and they've got 3 non-runners on board. Like they had people enter, and then they interviewed people, and they selected 3 people, and they selected me as the person to consult them basically through the process leading up to the half marathon. So I actually just met with them all, the 3 of them, on Saturday, and so now I'm associated with a cool sort of community radio kind of promotion too. So, and then I've also got a Facebook group that's been going for about the last 4 or 5 years, I can't quite remember, but it's basically about encouraging more movement in my community. So not just exercise, but actually just getting people outside, getting people connecting with family or friends or work colleagues, and actually just getting people outside, getting people moving more, not necessarily exercising in a gym, but actually just moving more in general, and trying to inspire the reason or the benefits to moving more. So it's not a business group as such. It's a hobby page, but obviously people sort of know who I am through that page, and they come to see me at work. But I think, Jono, that's about the extent of what I do, I think.
All right. Well, I want to summarize a few things along that journey there that I think, listening to that whole journey, I'm like, the things that you've done, it's no surprises that you are the personal trainer of the year. And I just want to break down probably 3 or 4 different points there. So I think the first key one is the passion. I love how you were working at a gym and you're like, yeah, I like it, but it's not quite my passion. So, hey, what am I going to do about it? I'm not just going to be stuck in my dead-end job and end up, not that it's a dead-end job, but I'm not going to be stuck in the one place and be not happy. What can I do about it to take that next step and be happy? So I love that side of it there. I also love when you even mentioned at the start, hey, I'm mastering the backwards gymnastics flip. Then you're like, I like to do this every couple of years. I've run triathlons and I've done ocean swims. I believe it's one of those things where it's like, what's next for me? It's not just, okay, cool, I've got my personal training certificate. That's all I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It's all right. What's the next step, and what's going to push the boundaries as well? Because I feel that then ties in as well with this public speaking thing that you've done. So I think that's another important message to trainers listening to this as well. Hey, don't just stay in that one spot. Do something that scares you. And then on the other end of that fear, you feel so much better. And then it's like, what's next? Right? What's next? What's next? And if you keep on that, you're just going to get more and more comfortable. You're going to grow more and more. You're going to get those things that used to scare you are going to be easy. Then you're going to do something else, and you just keep moving further up the train. So I love that as well. The further education side of things. If you also listen to Corrine there, it's not just, oh, hey, I'm going to do my PT and then, read the internet and, get some magazines and think that I'm, the next celebrity. It's, all right, cool. What's the next course? What's the next course? Who's my next mentor? Who's my next mentor? Right? And it's just a building and building and building. And I think because I obviously interview a lot of successful people on this podcast, and that's the one current theme that every single person does. They always either have a mentor or are continually learning. It's not just, all right, cool, I'll do a course to tick the box and then I've got my CECs for the year or whatever. It's all right, what can I do to take me to the next level? And it keeps building and building and building. So I think if any trainer is, would you agree with that? If any trainer is listening to this, if they could just take away 3 things: A, follow your passion; B, keep educating yourself; C, keep doing something that scares you, they're going to get ahead. Would you agree with those 3 things?
Absolutely, yes. And the ongoing education and professional education, I think everybody needs to do that. I think everybody needs a coach or a mentor, be it not full-time, just a couple of months a year, whatever is affordable. But I tell you, and my mentors would all agree to this, would all testify to this, in the last 3 years, I have become quite a different person who practices quite differently and has quite a different outlook on her life because of what those coaches have given me professionally and personally. And just the little family of other mentorees that, is around you, and just their belief in you, their genuine belief in you and what you can achieve just makes such a huge difference to your own mindset and to your own appreciation of actually the power that is within you that just needs unleashing. That's powerful stuff. Yep. And just like all the top, athletes in the world, top people in the world, all have coaches. They don't get there alone. They all need that support person, that advice person, that person, or their people that become almost like family because they so strongly believe that you have the drive and the intelligence and the passion or whatever to get there. Yep, that'd be the top takeaway.
100%. And it's the best investment you can make, right?
Absolutely.
A good mentor should not be an expense. A good mentor should not be, oh no, I've got to pay this person that much. It's like, I will gladly pay you this much because I know as a result, I am going to make more money as a result of it. It's an investment, right?
Yeah.
And I think also as trainers as well, people invest in us. People are paying us to say, hey, make me better. So we're already some form of a mentor as a trainer anyway. If you're not willing to invest in yourself, why should anyone else invest in you?
Totally. Yep. And I think the year that I won last year, when I won PT of the year, I'd paid almost 10K in ongoing education, but my numbers via the accountant, my profit went up 34%. So that there tells a story about how effective that payment out for, the mentoring and coaching was. It made a huge impact in what I was doing.
Spot on. And it's an interesting one because I think a lot of people think, oh, hey, I'll hire a mentor or a coach once I get the money, or once I'm more successful, then I'll hire it. Or they might think, oh, okay, yeah, Corrine spends 10K on coaching, but she's so successful, it's easy for her. I think it's the other way. I think Corrine is so successful because she spent that much on coaching, and I think it works that way. But hey,
totally. I wish I'd done it sooner too, Jono. I wish I'd actually, because all my trainers now, a lot of them are following or doing the education with Andrew, Dave, or JP too. And I'm almost jealous that they're there that soon into their career versus me, who sort of waited 10 or 11 years to get there. I've been in this game for 13 or 14 years now. I wish I'd done it sooner. You'd
be retired by now if you wanted to, if you started then.
What's that?
You would have been able to retire by now if you wanted to. If you started there. Not that
I wouldn't retire. I love what I do too much.
Looking at your ambitions, I don't think you'll ever retire. But I think, that it would have been there. But hey, where I'd like to move from here, Corrine, is to some of the things that you do. Because I just had a skim on your website. There are a couple of things that really caught my eye. And I was like, wow, that's really different. I'm curious. I've never seen of it. I'm just curious if you could give me the 101. What's Dream It? I looked on your website. There's a Dream It. What's that?
So Dream It is a company who basically do adventure holidays for people. So they recruit personal trainers or other health people to basically generate the clients to then go and do these adventure trips. So last year we were lucky enough to be approached by Dream It to take a group of people around the Alps, the Swiss, Italian and French Alps. So we did what's called the Tour du Mont Blanc. So it's a 9-day trekking expedition around Mont Blanc. And so we basically, as long as we got the 20 clients on board, myself and Sam, who's one of my awesome trainers, we essentially went for free. So it's a brilliant concept. We obviously had to put in a bit of work with training the individuals and stuff and making them as prepared as possible.
These are your clients here in New Zealand? Yes. Is that how it works? Yep.
Yeah, so maybe just over half were clients, and then half were people who became clients as a result of that, but they just heard about it through Facebook or the other marketing that we sort of did. But There's another one that we're doing next year, which is quite different. We're going to a place called Palawan, which is an archipelago in the Philippines, and that will be more of a restorative type of a holiday. So we're basically sailing on this awesome big sort of outrigger boat between these beautiful, untapped, completely isolated islands in the Philippines. This is a really newly discovered place. And it's really all about the restoration. So there'll be chefs on board that make really great food. We'll be delivering all sorts of restorative kind of sessions and activities. And, you know, we might have a bit of a great race or a My Kitchen Rules kind of a theme going, but it'll be quite different to trekking the Alps. But yeah, so they're a company that puts on these different adventures or expeditions, and they contract us to come on board to say, you get the clients, you can come and do this with us.
Love it. That sounds so cool. And then there was another interesting one as well. What's the Fitamin? Did I say that right?
Yes. So that's my Facebook group that I was alluding to earlier. So Fit M in is fit movement in, essentially. Yep. So there's about 2,400 in the group, and most of them are local to my area. And yeah, it's about the people or the members in the group sharing their own journeys or their own inspiration or their own questions as well. And then I try to obviously give a little bit of inspiration, or, you know, talk about the benefits of moving, or give an example of what I've done in my day that's, you know, not just a typical workout, but playing with my kids or getting out amongst the mountains, or
Love that too, because I'm a big fan. I love Facebook groups anyway. I'm not sure if you're in mine, but I'm all about Facebook groups and providing value first. So I believe the more you put in, the more you get back. So I think if anyone's out there and they're like, oh, you know, I want more clients, my advice is give more away. My advice is don't sort of, oh, I'm only going to tell someone something if they pay me. I guarantee you the more you give away, the more people are going to come back and, oh, Corrine knows her stuff. Oh, Corrine's posting again. Corrine's got endless ideas. I'm going to go and speak to Corrine. Or even the other way, if someone's like at the moment, oh, look, I'm not looking to train, but I like this Facebook group and, you know, hang out in or whatever. Maybe 6 months' time, you know what? I'm not happy with my body, not happy with my health. Better go see someone. I can either go and see this Corrine person that I've been following for 6 months and or I can just Google and find some random and hope for the best. They're going to choose you every time. So
it's about getting your face into the community too, Jono. You know, just being the face that people think of. It's not. I mean, as well as, you know, giving the stuff away for free because you do it so passionately. It's about actually just getting your face out there and just getting more people knowing you. Because obviously, the more people that know you, the greater your source of referral or whatever it's going to be.
I made a post yesterday actually on my Facebook group on that exact same thing, and because there's an element of luck involved in success. As much as I don't like to admit it, there's a smidgen, but you got to do the right things for that to happen. But let's just simplify it. Let's say I'm running a boot camp in my area and I know 100 people in my area. You're running a boot camp in my area. You know 10 people. I don't care how good your funnel is. I don't care how fancy your Instagram is. I'm going to win every time because more people know me. All I need to do is send out a bulk text message, right? And I heard a quote the other day as well. It used to be, you know, to be successful, you had to be good at what you do. All right. Then it sort of changed. It was who you know. Now I feel it's who knows you. The more people that know you, the more successful you'll be. And it's been easier than ever to get yourself out there with social media. So I think that's really cool. But hey, Corrine, just a few things I want to touch on before we finish up here. These are my finishing questions. So I always ask people to finish with these as well. Now, you're obviously a mentor to PTs as it is. So if anyone's listening to this and they're like, you know what, Corrine sounds pretty cool, I'm going to contact her. I'm just going to read out your website so they can contact you. Just to make sure I've got it, it's www.fitfix.co.nz.
Correct. Yep.
Awesome. Now, do you mentor PTs Australia as well or just New Zealand?
Oh, no, I don't think I've had an Australian one, but I'm not against us having an Australian one.
Yeah, it might lift up the IQ level of the group if you bring some Australians. That's a joke. But I'm not honestly, yeah. So Corrine's a mentor. So if you like what she's got to say, I definitely recommend contacting her. You can either go via that website or she's on Facebook. Just type in FitFix. It'll actually be FitFix Specialists in Movement Vitality. That's the Facebook page. Now, what I like to finish up with, Corrine, you're a mentor yourself, and we know you've got your mentors as well. Where else do you go for your education and your inspiration in terms of, say, any books you could recommend, any podcasts to listen to, any people to follow on social media? what would you say there? And you can mention your mentors as well, their pages and whatnot.
So I follow Dave, Leo, and Angela Jenkins from the Kaizen Institute of Health.
Facebook page, that's the best way if anyone wants to follow them.
They've got a website, so if they just go to Kaizen Institute of Health, there's a website there. They've also got, between them, they've got a couple of Facebook pages. It might be just best for them to go to the website for them.
Yeah. Okay.
JP or John Polly of Be Free in Perth, Western Australia.
That'll be a Facebook group. Is that the one? So JP's group, Be Free?
He's got a group, but I believe there's also a Facebook page.
Well, okay.
I think he posts more in the group, admittedly, than on the page. But I'm a big fan of Ian O'Dwyer as well, who does OD movement and performance, or something he calls himself, in Noosa, Northern Queensland. Who else? So the fitness industry podcast? Fitness.
Yep. Chantel Broderick?
Yeah. No, the other one.
Oh.
Fitness Industry Network.
Australian Fitness Network. Australia or New Zealand?
So there's one that Chantel Broderick does. She does the fitness business podcast. She does.
Yep.
So that one, and then there's a fitness industry podcast.
Don't think I know that one. Is it Australian, New Zealand?
It's had Kiwis and Aussies on it.
Okay, I'll do a bit of research and I'll put the link in the description.
I'm a big fan of the Wellness Woman as well. That's another podcast. They're based in Perth, in Western Australia too, I believe. So that's obviously got a lot more of the inside health kind of thing that I'm obviously a bit fond of these days. What else do I do? I've got quite a few different Facebook pages I follow just for general inspiration and programming or exercises or whatever, as you do. I've always got a book on the go. At the moment I've got, it's one by Deepak Chopra actually. It's called The Self Healer, or Healing the Self, or something. Anyway, it's about, so that's quite interesting. I've always got some kind of personal development book on the go, so that's sort of a bit of personal and professional development, but I like the whole Stephen Covey sort of series, or I've done all of those.
Stephen Covey is the seven of everything. Is that him?
Yes, that's him. Yep. Where else do I go? That's about all that I probably do at the moment. I go to
No, you go. Sorry.
I do a weekly Pilates class as well. So I guess there's some sort of education that goes from attending other people's classes. I tend to mix that up a bit too. I'm obviously doing gymnastics coaching too, so you get a couple of ideas and inspiration from that. I think that's about all, Jono, that I can actually fit in at the moment.
Yeah, well, I think that'll keep our listeners busy if they can follow Ian O'Dwyer, JP, Dave and Angie, go out and do some classes on their own, always read a book. I think that'll keep them busy. So hey, thanks very much for your time there, Corrine. Is there anything I forgot to mention? Anything else you want to finish up with? Anything I should have asked you but didn't?
I don't think so. No, I think I covered most of what I've got to say. It's just follow your passion and just don't try to be anybody else. Just know what's inside you, know what you want to do, know who your ideal client is, and go out and do the things that are going to help that ideal client and help you live your passion. Yeah, I think those are my finishing words. Just go out and do what you do best.
Love it. I think that's the best part of the podcast. So I hope you listen to the end of this podcast, because that was a good close. Well, hey, Corrine, so we're going to see you at FITEX. You're doing fitness games, is that right?
Yeah, games and play, I think it's called, with my lovely colleague Hilary Blackstock. Yeah, so it's going to be good fun. We actually just spoke last night on the phone for the first time about just getting our first sort of ideas together about it. So yeah, it'll be good.
Awesome. Well, hey, I'm definitely going to go to that session, so I'll see you there. And once again, if you're listening out there, I strongly recommend come along to FITEX. You'll get to meet me. You'll get to meet Corrine. You'll learn a whole heap. And it's just for what you pay, it's the cheapest investment you can possibly make to get all that information and all the networking.
FITEX is absolutely brilliant. FITEX, like I've been for the last 10 or 11 years, and it's still my favorite weekend of the year. you just go along and it's just the best vibe. And even the presenters that come from Australia say that the Kiwi one is so much friendlier than any of the Australian ones. And yeah, it's just a really good vibe, really good weekend, and you always go back feeling so fresh and alive with new ideas. It's a great way to end the year as well.
I agree. And I'll tell you a couple stories, actually. So I'll be like a minute, so I won't keep you. So I actually go to the Australian one all the time and the American one, both which are way bigger than FITEX. But I still prefer FITEX for that close family environment.
Yeah.
You go to, I just got back from IDEA. Every session's got, 25, 30 people in there. You go to FITEX, there's not going to be that big, and you get some personal time with the presenters as well. But anyways, that's all we have time there, Corrine. So I'm going to leave you to it, and we will. I'll see you at FITEX.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John. Hey, can you just